You're listening to the Uplevel Your Online Business Show, where wealth is empowering, purpose is crucial, and high vibes are non-negotiable. And now, here's your host, certified business coach and practical woo strategist, Sara J Loureiro.
All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Uplevel Your Online Business Show. And today I wanted to talk about generational wealth, but more in specific, I really wanted to touch on why it's actually important that we grow our businesses, that we uplevel our businesses, and why so many of us actually really do need more money. And maybe it's not necessarily a need, but hopefully after this episode, I can inspire you to have like a greater why for what it is that you're doing. And not necessarily just a greater why for what you're doing, but more so a greater why in terms of why it's actually important to, hit six figures or multiple six figures or do more with your business. And one of the reasons why I really want to inspire you here is because I was never the person who really aspired to create more wealth for myself or more generational wealth for my family. In fact, I remember the very first time that I was even thinking about my business, I was literally only thinking about getting the bills paid, because for me, my biggest priority was having freedom and having the time freedom and having the creativity. And that's what I thought about with my business. I didn't think about retirement. I didn't think about, my future child's education plan. I didn't think about having financial freedom. Those were not things that I was thinking about. And that was also because it just wasn't in my level of belief and level of opportunity, I guess, if you can say that I was really aspiring to. And one of the reasons for that was because I was, really functioning off of limiting beliefs and really just operating from a place of unworthiness. And so when I remember when I hired my very first coach and I told her how much I wanted to make in a year, and she was just like, that's it, right? And she really challenged me to think bigger. And I'm so grateful to all of the people that I've learned from, all of my coaches, my mentors, and everyone who I have been following throughout this journey of mine, because if it wasn't for them to really open up my mind to the possibilities that exist in front of me, I wouldn't have now two homes, right? My husband and I now own two homes. One of them we are renting out, and the other one we're living in. We are also mortgage free, and we are also debt free. And I feel like this is something that isn't very common. Of course, I feel like as we grow and continue to grow our wealth, we will probably have mortgages and things like that we take out as well. But it is very incredible that we were able to get to this place. And one of the main reasons why we were able to get to this place is because we were really focusing on creating wealth rather than creating a lot of what you see online, which is a lot of it is really smoke and mirrors. And what I hope to help you with in this episode is just really helping you to create your own priorities, but also open you up to the possibilities that are also available to you. So like I said, when I first started this business, I really was just kind of thinking about living paycheck to paycheck. I wasn't thinking about retirement savings. I wasn't thinking about anything more than, okay, well, how much money do I need to live? How much money do I need to go to the beach? How much money do I need to fly back home? And that was about it. And looking back now, I mean, if I was living off of that amount, it would never have been enough to kind of just like really fuel all of the desires that I currently have. And another thing that I want to say too is as your level of belief and possibility grows, so will your level of aspiration. So let's say, for example, if you were always living in an environment where everyone around you was making $5,000 a month and that was all that you knew, you would kind of have your own glass ceiling at $5,000 a month. And you wouldn't really be able to fathom that you could create more than that, nor would you have a desire to, because throughout your entire life, you probably saw your dad making $5,000 a month or your mom making $5,000 a month. And yes, that's usually enough to pay the bills, right? It's enough to pay the bills. It's enough to maybe even put a little bit aside for savings or splurge on some of your favorite items. But that type of money is definitely not enough to, save for your children's education plans, have a really great house in a great neighborhood. There's just so many things that you're missing out on when you kind of just like cap yourself at a specific income versus if you were around a family who, let's say, for example, your mom or your dad made $300,000 a year. And so you were very used to a family income of $300K, you would go into your business or you would go into your life thinking, okay, well, I really do want to have something that matches that because I really did enjoy that level and that quality of life, right? It's kind of the same thing, like children of really prominent figures don't just become prominent figures themselves because of connections, although that is definitely also a thing and privilege is a thing here too. But it's also because of the mindset and the way that they were taught to believe around money and what they saw their parents doing, the way that they saw their parents acting around money, and the ways that their parents aspired to create more money that ultimately allowed the children to then also follow in their footsteps, right? Because we learn from what people do, not necessarily from what people say. And one thing that I've been all about lately is after I really established a base salary for myself, let's say. So after I was, let's say, for example, around the 6-figure mark in my business, I quickly also realized that wasn't enough to fuel my desires. It was really just enough to fuel, okay, well, the savings that I needed, the amount that I needed to build my house and things like that. So it also wasn't until I hit that mark that I really understood that I was meant for more and that I really wanted to also educate other people on this stuff too. Because on the flip side of that, when I started out in online business and when I started to really grow and scale, a lot of the figures that I saw online who were growing and scaling were buying designer bags. They were flying first class. They were, constantly showcasing those levels of wealth. And I just thought in my brain, because I didn't know any wealthy people, my parents didn't know any wealthy people. So I just thought to myself, okay, well, if and when I'm wealthy, I'm going to go out and buy designer bags, or I'm going to go out and travel first class. And, once I hit a specific income mark, like that's exactly what I want to do. And I know that I've seen this in a few of my clients where they're just like, oh, well, I don't need to hit 6 figures, or I don't need to hit multiple 6 figures a year. Let's say, for example, because they think, oh, well, but I don't really need the designer stuff. Like I don't really care about any of that stuff. And I realized once I started getting into a bigger income every single month that I didn't care about the designer stuff either. In fact, what I primarily cared about, and one of the reasons why I continued to build more wealth for myself and really encourage other people to build more wealth for themselves as well, is freedom. It really always goes back to freedom. How do I want to own my own time? And what do I want to be doing with that time? And I encourage you to think the same way about your life and your business, rather than being like, okay, well, how much money do I need to pay the bills? I encourage you to think of, okay, well, what is the ultimate freedom-based life and freedom-based business that I want to have? And for myself, this looks like investing in properties, investing in stocks, investing in crypto, and ultimately doing that while serving my clients on a really high level with the best energy, being able to go on the weekends to the beach whenever I want, and being able to travel whenever I want to travel as well. And when I did the calculations of how much I needed and how much I needed to be making in order to really do all of those things that I really wanted to do, I realized that 6 figures wasn't enough for that. And I realized that I would much rather push myself to my own limits and push myself to the edge of my discomfort And by doing that, being able to give my son just so much more in terms of wealth, but also in terms of, seeing his mom doing things that she absolutely loves and seeing his mom be a successful business owner. And of course, being able to pay for things like his education. The multiple six figures or the higher income just started to make a lot more sense. And not only did it start to make a lot more sense, it started to really absorb into my body and into my energetic field as the only way that I wanted to conduct business. So, and once you get there, once you are able to up-level yourself to that level energetically and really ask yourself, what do I want from this life? What do I want to be able to achieve? What do I aspire to have? Who do I aspire to be? And really create that not from a place of subconscious programming and all of the limiting beliefs that you probably had as a child, but instead from a place of, I am a human being. And if I am a human being and I take away all of the other crap that I was born with, all of the stuff that I inherited, all of the, the bad thoughts, the limiting beliefs, if I am just a human being here without any of that baggage, without any of that inner child work, what do I want to create? Who do I want to be? Then you can start to create and to manifest from a place of infinite possibility. And when you start to create and manifest from a place of infinite possibility, then it's like your brain opens up even more and you start to do things and make decisions that a lot of people that come from the same type of place that where you come from, they might think it's absolutely insane. And you're going to do it anyways. And the reason why you're going to do it anyways is because you no longer exist as a part of that social circle. You no longer exist as a part of that, okay, well, this is the ceiling for us, right? The ceiling no longer exists for you. And when I was first starting to play this game of wealth, I was incredibly confused by it. And to be honest with you, I'm still a little bit confused by what goes on social media. And from conversations that I've had with people, I also have started to understand and fully realize that my money mindset and my concept of wealth priorities, if you will, is just very, very different from so many other people. And I used to think that I wanted to fly first class everywhere. And I used to think that after my first 10K month, or I think I talked about this recently because I remember writing about it, but after my very first $7,000 month, I wanted to buy a designer bag just because I thought like, oh, wow, well, now I'm wealthy, right? Now I need to do the thing that everyone does, which is to buy a designer handbag. And what I realized is that I didn't want that at all, one. And two, I could think of so many more important places for me personally to put that amount of money. And to this day, I don't own any designer goods. And if anyone wants to, if they're at my income level, that's totally fine. But what I needed to do, and I think what would be really helpful for anyone listening to this who maybe just doesn't really relate to the whole like first class luxury lifestyle, is just look at millionaires and multimillionaires online who are not touting the luxury lifestyle, because there are a ton of them. There are so many of them. And the reason why we don't equate that to being wealthy is because they're not actually showing us their wealth, right? There's a lot of millionaires next door who are wearing old jeans and driving old cars. And I really do love that concept. And I think that fits so much more for me and my personal identity than, the multiple six-figure business owner who's flying first class and, like buying a whole bunch of designer goods and like taking photos of that every time I can to upload them on social media. That's just not my thing. It's never been something that's been me. And I think moving forward, it probably won't be. I mean, I don't know if maybe I'll change, but for now, that's definitely not something that I aspire to. And I think even at the level that I'm at in terms of my business and in terms of basically the wealth that I've been able to create for myself and for my family, I'm probably at like a much higher level than a lot of the people who are doing that kind of stuff. And so it just kind of comes to show that it's not necessarily about the money that you make. It's just the priorities that you have and what you ultimately want to spend your money on, which is totally up to you at the end of the day, right? If you want the designer bags and if you want to travel first class, go for it. Have that be the thing that you do with your money, but you want to have a really strong why. And I really do feel like each and every one of us has a really, really strong why to be making multiple six figures in our businesses per year. And not only that, but each and every one of us has the courage inside of us to do it. Each and every one of us has the conviction. We can create that conviction. We can create that level of belief. You also don't need to be selling $5,000 to $10,000 packages in order to get to that amount. There are so many different ways that you can grow your audience, create membership sites, create lower cost programs that can also help you to get there. But ultimately, what I'm trying to say is there's such a benefit to creating this wealth. And I really don't think that the coaching industry online and just in general, the financial industry, if you will, the financial mentorship industry isn't really going far enough to really help people to understand what is truly possible for them when they go all in with their businesses. So here are a few really helpful tips that I've found to just be really enlightening and really eye-opening when it comes to thinking about wealth and inspiring to do more and really up-level my own wealth knowledge. So one of the very first things was to really think about my time freedom and what I wanted to be doing with my time. What do I ultimately want to be doing with my life, with my time? And for me, once again, it was not necessarily I want to own a whole bunch of designer goods, like that. That was never really my thing. However, my thing has always been traveling. I mean, if I could be traveling at least once per quarter, which is what I'm doing in 2022, which is so exciting. It's so exciting, you guys. This is all happening. But if I can travel once per quarter, I would be such a happy girl. Like, I'm already a really happy girl, but if you put me on a flight and if I'm seeing new people, meeting new faces, going to new places, exploring it, there's nothing else that fills me up quite in the way that traveling does. So I already know from that I am going to, need to be either taking on more clients, scaling my business, something along those lines. And that is a really big part of my why. And so do I need multiple six figures in a year to pay my bills? No, absolutely. I do not. Right. I'm actually someone who doesn't even spend a lot of money to begin with. So I'd probably be okay with like a small fraction of that. But travel is really something that is a priority for me. And in specific, travel to meet people and to really help to challenge myself and really own up to my true potential. And that's why travel in the form of masterminds and conferences is also going to be in my radar in the near future, because that's once again, a really big thing on my priorities list in terms of my freedom of time. I want to be spending my time in social circles for people who are also going to push me to reach my full potential. And so that all has a price, right? Especially the way that I uplevel to be able to give my clients and my community the best version of me, that also has a price. So if I'm joining masterminds, if I'm joining conferences, if I'm getting new levels of certification, well, yeah, that also increases my own value in my market and in my industry, because I am now more knowledgeable. I have more experience, and I am surrounding myself with the energy and with other people's energy that ultimately corresponds with an up level that my clients can also utilize just by being around me or investing in one of my containers. So that's a big energetics part of this, really defining the why, how you want to spend your time, what's really important for you in terms of time freedom. And another thing that I found really helpful was FIRE. So some of you might be super financially savvy on this episode. Some of you might not be. I was not financially savvy when I first started my business. I mean, I was good with money, but I think there's a difference between being good with money and just being financially savvy. You can actually even be financially savvy and not be quote unquote good with money. And you can still make a lot of wealth for yourself. So FIRE stands for financial independence and retire early. So I'm not a huge retirement person. I do feel like I just want to work into my 60s and 70s and just kind of see where life takes me. I mean, Jane Fonda is in her late 80s and she's doing Grace and Frankie right now. Like, if I can aspire to that level of just loving my life and loving my job, like, I would love to do that. So it's not necessarily, okay, this is going to be an age where I no longer work, but the way that FIRE really inspires me is, what is the investment amount that I need to have in order for me to be financially free, right? Not necessarily retire early, but be financially free, which basically means that if I no longer had to work, or if I was no longer able to work, could my investments give me the money that I need to survive and also live the life and the lifestyle that I truly want to live? And if you've never done FIRE, you should Google it, find out what your retirement age is, find out, there's so many different ways that you can work this out. I help a lot of my clients with this as well, because I love to help them with growing their business, but also growing their wealth and making their business wealth work for them as well. But get the calculator, find out what this means for you, and then start playing around with it. Start asking yourself, where do I want to invest my money? Robert Kiyosaki is also a fantastic mentor for really starting to think about what you're going to be doing with your money, how you're going to be spending your money, and, what are the benefits of investing early? And once I started to kind of look through all of that, it started to become really fun for me as well. It started to become fun to look at investments and to start to see an entirely new world of living that isn't just like, okay, well, here's how much I want to have to pay my bills. Here's how much I want to have to save for my retirement. And here's how much I need for my house. Let's say, for example, it really opens you up to a brand new area of possibility where you can, if you want to invest in real estate, start investing in real estate. If you want to invest in stocks, start investing in stocks. If crypto is your thing, learning crypto, and really just getting the knowledge that you're going to want to then ask yourself, okay, well, which one of these roads do I want to go down? Do I want to hire a financial advisor for this? Do I want to kind of do this on my own for a little bit? And really educating yourself on all of these things helps to open you up to, once again, that realm of possibilities, really up-level your brain, up-level your mindset, up-level your energy. And then from there, then you can ask yourself too, okay, how is my business going to play a role in this? How is my business going to play a role in the generational wealth that I want to build, right? Because let's say, for example, if you are in your business right now, let's say you're in your 30s, you have so long to be able to put into your business. Your business is just going to keep on growing. I mean, the online market has only started, you guys. It's only begun to grow. And so when you start to think about your business and all of the possibilities for it, then you can start to say, okay, well, how much do I want to allocate to each thing, right? So rather than focusing on, okay, well, this is how many clients I can have at a time, and this is how much I think they can pay me for what I do. Focus first on the bigger picture. So focus first on okay, well, what is my 3-year vision for my future? If I could create anything in 3 years, what would I want to create? How much would I want to invest? How much would I want to save? Do I want to invest in real estate? Right? So if you already have a home, do you want to buy a second home? Maybe a second home that's on the beach, or a second home that's a rental property. Or by the time your kid goes to college or university, do you want to be able to pay all of that off for them? Or do you want to leave your child, a home once you pass away from this life? Like, what are your big goals? And start to really reverse engineer that to, okay, well, how does the business play a role in this? So let's say, for example, if your goal was, okay, in 5 years, I want to own a second property or a third property or fourth or wherever you are in this game. And you also wanted to travel and you also wanted to buy nice things and you know exactly how much you spend on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis. Let's say you also want to throw in a nicer car in there for yourself. You want to reverse engineer that into, okay, if I do all of that, then I also consider that usually around 20 to 30% of what I make in my business usually goes back into the business to pay for team, to pay for mentors, to pay for marketing, all of that kind of stuff. And then, around 30 to 35% is going to go into taxes. Well, what is the amount that I need to end up at? So what amount in my business do I need to be making in order to have all of this work out for me? And once you reach that number in terms of what your business needs to be making, then you can also start to decide, okay, is my one-to-one client docket going to suffice for this? Or do I want to fold in a one-to-many type program? Or do I want to have an entirely different business model altogether? If you are a product-based business, how many different product lines are you going to want in order to reach those goals? Are you going to want to open up a membership site? Are you going to want to open up more of an agency type model if you're in a done-for-you service-based business? And working from the top down rather from the bottom up just helps so much to keep your possibilities open. It helps to really expand your mind, and it also helps to hold you accountable to that higher level version of yourself who's no longer playing small, the version of yourself who is aspiring to become bigger and greater. And just know that when you create things and when you start to think about your life and your business from this top-down type of level, it really just helps you to live your dreams. And the last part of this is, because I know I'm going to get questions about this, is, well, what happens then when you kind of have all of this down, you start to create a plan out of this, and then it doesn't happen as quickly as you want it to. So now you kind of put all of this pressure on, creating generational wealth or creating these new levels and these new processes. And the whole idea here is also being incredibly grateful for where you are now. And realizing that you're already happy now, you're already healthy now, you're already in a really good place where you are right now, and having a ton of gratitude for that while still being able to aspire to greatness. So always coming back to thank you so, so much for everything that I have right now. Thank you so much for the apartment that I currently rent from. Thank you so much for the frozen food that I have to buy. Thank you so much for the walks that I'm able to have during my lunch break. Any little thing that you can hang on to in terms of being incredibly grateful for what you have now is going to help you propel yourself into the future, versus being attached to that future and thinking to yourself, well, if I don't get this, this means I'm a failure. That's going to be so much harder for you to attain. So you want to make sure that you also stay in the vibration and stay in the mindset of constant and continuous gratitude for what it is that you currently have, because that's going to help to catapult you and really keep you in a really great place of energetic alignment for knowing that the best is yet to come. And I think I'm going to leave it at that. So if this was totally new to you, I would love to hear from you. If this was a little bit of review, but it helped to expand your mind, I'd also love to hear from you. I'd love to hear all of the multiple perspectives from this episode. So feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. It's at Sara without an H, J Loureiro. So Loureiro. If you like this episode, it would mean the world to me if you left it an amazing review. And if you have any friends that you feel would really need to listen to this episode, feel free to share the love to them as well. Thank you so, so much for being here, and I will catch you next time.
Thanks Thanks for listening to the Uplevel Your Online Business Show. If you enjoy our show and would like the show notes and free goodies about how to grow your online coaching business, head over to sarajloureiro.com for more information. We hope you'll tune in next time.